Welcome to Ancestral Recall. This is a magic show specializing in stories and retrospectives from the past. I'm your host, Eli Kaplan. Today's show is going to look at Stronghold, the follow-up set to Tempest. Why watch this story? Because my stories are best stories. Stronghold is the second set of Tempest block, also known as the Wrath cycle, and depicts the Weatherlight crew's travails as they slip through Volrath's defenders to liberate Sisay. Karn, the only Weatherlight character who still matters these days, gets trapped and tortured, essentially thrown into a tightly packed box with innocents and jostled around so forcibly that his bulk kills them. This violates his pacifist code and gives him a blue screen of death moment. Once they rescue Sisay, they then have to fight their way out of the stronghold to a portal which will take them to God knows who where. This chase is depicted in Exodus. Aside from adding lots of awesome slivers into the mix, Stronghold also surprised players by adding a cycle that pushed one creature type harder than ever before. Walls! The walls were cheap and had awesome abilities in an attempt to make them tournament playable. Things like 4/1 First Strike Defender for 2 mana? It's a pretty amazing deal. It nulls a 5-drop. Wall of Blossoms was the most played though, because it had the 3 magic words on it. Draw a card. This cycle was also a nod to how insanely fast Tempest limited play was, but since they were uncommon, they didn't do too much on their own. What differentiates Stronghold from Tempest? Stronghold was slower, in large part because there were less shadow guys. The set's amount of shadow creatures was rather small, just 3. This had the effect of making Tempest shadows even harder to block, but there were fewer running around in the limited environment. Stronghold's guys were bigger and better, possibly reflecting the choices of Volrath that he keeps in his ridiculous monster box. Tempest block had elements of older sets that didn't work properly, revamped to see if they'd work when adjusted. Tempest's Medallion series are attempts at fixing Moxen. One thing Rosewater tried to do with Stronghold is fixing Banding. His non-keyworded attempt, the Encore ability, allowed players to redirect damage from an Encore in combat to another creature they controlled for free. It worked. It was easier to play with than Banding, and played well. It didn't overwhelm the limited format, though. Famous cards and EDH and cube suggestions! This sounded a lot better on the page. Sacred Ground. Okay, this is the best sideboard card to deal with land destruction ever. Sure, it's narrow, but there's little else that will do the job it does. If that guy regularly plays with you, try running this card along with Enlightened Tutor to get it out early. Dream Halls. Okay, yeah, this is completely, utterly broken, especially with Omniscience. Early Rosewater designs had lots of Johnny cards that allowed for unbounded brokenness. This set has both Dream Halls and Intruder Alarm. These are 2 cards notorious in combo decks. Why is it blue gets all the really good combo enabler cards in this set? Evacuation. Despite what the name may imply, this card isn't crap. It's a great precursor to today's Cyclonic Rift, and a favorite of controlling players for a long time. It may not win you friends in multiplayer games, but if you need some peace and quiet, here's where you go. Stronghold had the best, fair 2-mana counterspell, Mana Leak. It isn't in standard now, but it'll be back. Just you wait. Lightning Bolt's too good, so Stronghold gave us the fair Shock. So much easier to breathe with this in formats instead of Bolt. You are Shock! Okay, here we go. Volrath's Shapeshifter. This was a vital part of the most horrific extended combo deck, Full English Breakfast. You had to be a judge to play this deck. With Survival of the Fittest in play, this Shapeshifter copied Flowstone Hellion to make itself +9, -9, or whatever on the stack, after giving itself Shroud and or Flying with Morphling. Then it shapeshifted into a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Flying, Shrouded, Hasty, 21 damage to the dome. That's what I call pretty good shenanigans, and it wasn't that hard to pull off. If you like Liliana of the Veil, but don't want quite as big a target on your head, try Bottomless Pit. It's cheaper, and this was a real kick in the pants against control decks. Grave Pact saw print here for the first time. Man, this EDH staple is so famous for a good reason. Misery loves company, and when this card's in play, you're the hotel owner. Ruination. Destroy all the non-basics! I hate mass land destruction in general, but I also value keeping players honest, and this card keeps mana bases from being ridiculous, so I have to respect it. Hermit Druid is yet another ridiculous combo enabler. This guy was Dredge before Dredge was a thing. This guy spawned a major archetype in Old Extended, Angry Hermit. Spike Feeder, one of Green's best answers against red decks back in the day, and Sly was an utter terror back in the day. I still use this guy in my vintage Turboland deck. Nowadays, he has a home in Modern along with Archangel of Thune to do stupid infinite life gain combo. This sliver was the second most popular sliver at the time after Sliver Queen. People say, "Don't touch my stuff." Alright, Sliver Queen's not the most versatile sliver, as Sliver Overlord allows for a number of stealing reindeer games, but it's easily the best token producer and one of the best 5-color commanders. This was also groundbreaking as the first tournament-legal Wooburg creature. If you want to stop attackers and don't mind playing with no cards in hand most of the time, Bridge is pretty sick. I played this in Invasion Block along with a Keepa, Grounded Skullcap. How'd that deck win? With one of the most lethal 0-power creatures in Magic, Guilt Feeder. Mox Diamond. Okay, this is only the 6th Mox printed, and it's still awesome! Like its successor, Chrome Mox, it requires you to pitch a card, though instead of an imprinted spell which determines which color it makes, Mox Diamond just makes all of them. It also really impacts the way that you have to use your mana base. Portcullis. If you really wanted to be a traffic cop when you were a little kid, or annoy people in Commander, then Portcullis is your card. Fun ensues when someone knocks it down. This card will tick off a lot of players, though. Volrath's Stronghold. Okay, what's better than drawing a fatty in the late game? Being guaranteed to draw a fatty in the late game. And this card will do that for you. This is easily one of my favorite cards of all time. It's pretty expensive these days due to demand in Commander. What's the final verdict on Stronghold? 7 out of 10. There are some great engines, a lot of efficient limited cards, and some neat tribal themes. The spikes were a hit with players. Even without new keywords, there were some neat mechanical innovations, such as fixed banding. But really, this wasn't so innovative in itself. There wasn't any major theme like modern sets have today. Not modern the format, but contemporary sets are all about some kind of theme. The set was fairly costed for limited play, and dialed back the speed a bit from Tempest's intense rushes. So, despite the limited innovation, I'm a big fan of this set. Thanks for watching today. Our next show is going to finish off the Wrath cycle with Exodus. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click that like button below and subscribe. You can also go back and watch my other videos. Follow me on Twitter and contact me, and please give me your feedback in the comment section below. I may be a whore for this kind of stuff, but it really does make a difference. Thanks for watching. This is Eli Kaplan for Ancestral Recall, signing off. Good games and good luck.